David Attenborough, a well-respected natural historian and broadcaster, defined biodiversity as the abundance of life. The UN Earth Rio Summit in 1992 formally described biodiversity as all living organisms or species on the planet, their homes and their environments, and their interactions with the species and between species. It sounds complicated, but biodiversity is nature. Biodiversity is often divided into three types. Type 1 is a species diversity. This is a type of biodiversity most people are familiar with and is defined as the number of different species that occupy a location. Type 2 is genetic diversity, which is the amount of variations in genetic material within a species or within a population. And type 3 is ecological diversity, which is the variation in the ecosystems found in a region or the variation in ecosystems over the whole planet. In this lesson, we will look at a species diversity in closer detail. So how many species are on the planet? Well, there are lots of different estimates, but scientists reckoned that we have about 1 trillion species on Earth. But we also know that a huge percentage have not been discovered yet. Imagine, there are more species on the planet than all the stars in the Milky Way. Many of them are so small or hidden that we never get to see them. It is a fascinating and busy planet we all share. This is a pie chart of the different living creatures on the planet. The biggest percentage of all the species are insects and spiders. Believe it or not, they make up over 60% of all the species on Earth. All those tiny insects that hide away quietly provide the food chain for so many other creatures like birds and small mammals. Then we have crustacea that make up over 20% of all species, creatures like crabs, woodlice, and shrimp. Humans come under other groups, along with other mammals like dogs and cows. We make up only a tiny proportion of the total species, but yet we have a dominant effect causing the most environmental damage. Biodiversity is extremely important to humans and provides us with essential ecosystem services. So what are ecosystem services? They are defined as the benefits people derive from ecosystems. Nature provides humans with many services, even more than we might think. The oxygen that we breathe comes from plants and trees. Our food also comes from nature. As we learned in lesson 1, nature looks after the carbon cycle. But also, our energy sources, such as fuel, gas, timber, and coal, they all come from nature. In fact, fossil fuels come from nature itself. Water also comes from nature and is essential to our survival. We get ingredients for medicines from nature. Plant specialists estimate that there are between 50,000 to 70,000 known medicinal and aromatic plants used for medical purposes. Lastly, nature is essential for our well-being. Ecotherapies such as forest bathing are now used as recognized alternatives way to de-stress and reconnect with nature. It has proven benefits for our mental and physical health. In a nutshell, without biodiversity, we would have no air to breathe, no food to eat, and no way of staying warm. We are connected to nature in every way and rely on it to give us essential services so that we can function in our daily lives. An essential connection between biodiversity and humans are food webs. A food web is a complex interaction between plants and animals found in nature. Let's imagine a coastal ecosystem that has many different species living in it. The sun provides the energy that is needed for kelp to grow. In turn, the kelp provides food for the sea urchin, and the sea urchin provides food for the sea otter. This system works in balance and is a perfect example of how different species rely on each other to survive. But what if another species that isn't part of this system is introduced? For example, the orcas' feeding grounds have less food available due to overfishing in their usual feeding spots. This causes the orca to have to travel further to a new ecosystem to look for food. The orca comes across our habitat where the sea otter is the main predator. It finds the sea otter easy to prey and therefore becomes a predator in this habitat. This causes an increase in sea urchins due to the decrease in sea otters, which causes also a decrease in kelp, which affects the ecosystem, as the decrease in kelp has a knock-on effect on other species. Recent research by 500 UN scientists has estimated that approximately 1 million species are threatened with extinction in the near future. This is 500,000 plants and animals and 500,000 insects. Insects diversity loss causes soil degradation, as insects break organic matter in the soil that enables plants to grow. Scientists estimate that we will lose 1 in 4 plants over the next few years. This is particularly worrying, as they carry out photosynthesis and release oxygen necessary for human existence. Extinction is happening at 100 times faster than the natural evolutionary rate, and it is accelerating. We humans are affecting nature and ecosystems more and more. We clear forests for food production and cut down habitats without leaving corridors for creatures to move through safely. 75% of land on Earth has been converted from wildland into land use for human purposes. Pollution is also causing problems for nature and is a driver of biodiversity loss. All the reasons for biodiversity loss are related, as we know that everything in nature is connected. Some of the most important and fascinating relationships in nature are between plants and insects, and plants and fungi. One of those relationships is pollination. Pollination is the transfer of pollen between flowering plants that allows them to fertilize and seed. 75% of all food crops and wild plants rely on insects for pollination, mostly bees, but also hoverflies, butterflies, ants and beetles. Bees are the most important pollinators, as their life cycle depends entirely on flowering plants for their existence. This image provides a good visual of how insects thrive in places where habitats are provided for them. You can see from the image that the more shrubs and plants available, the more variety of insects there are. Over 31,000 species have been recorded in Ireland and its surrounding seas, and many more have yet to be discovered. The conservation status of biodiversity in Ireland has only assessed 10% of all species. This means that we have a huge gap when it comes to knowing how Ireland's biodiversity currently is in terms of numbers. But what we do know is that of the species that have been assessed, 1 in every 5 is threatened with extinction. 37 species of birds are high conservation concerns. Over half of native Irish plants species have declined in range or abundance. More than half of Ireland's 100 bee species have seen substantial declines in numbers since 1980, with 30% of them threatened with extinction. Almost half of the habitats are demonstrating ongoing declines, particularly notable in marine, peatland, grassland and woodland habitats. Almost a third of our semi-natural grasslands have been lost in the last decade, while half of our rivers and 2/3 of our estuaries are not in good ecological health. In May 2019, the government voted upon and declared both a national climate and biodiversity emergency, making Ireland the second country in the world to do so. It is crucial to reverse the biodiversity loss, and Ireland has established the development of national biodiversity strategies as mechanisms to implement global agreements such as the Sustainable Development Goals related to biodiversity and European environmental policies, such as the European Union Green Deal. There are national mandates on agriculture, forestry and the oceans to protect biodiversity, and Ireland's 4th National Biodiversity Action Plan is taking a whole government and all of society approach to deliver the transformative changes required to protect and conserve Irish nature. We all can take action to preserve biodiversity. First, we can protect the bees. We can help them by letting a portion of our green spaces grow wild, so that native nectar-producing flowers can grow. We should also plant native flowers and trees. Planting natives in your garden does wonders in supporting local biodiversity. Don't use pesticides or fertilizers. Reduce your water use. Biodiversity is dependent on the abundance of local fresh water. Respect local habitats by sticking to walking paths. Do not use cleaning chemicals. They soak into the soil and water bodies, affecting all species living in it. Changing to eco-cleaning products is one of the easiest actions we can all take to help nature. Engage with local biodiversity conservation and protection community-based initiatives. Applying actions to our lives to enhance biodiversity will allow us to improve on the following Sustainable Development Goals: zero hunger, good health and well-being, clean water and sanitation, sustainable cities and communities, climate action, life below water, and life on land. We have come to the end of this lesson. I would like to encourage you to complete the activities on the workbook.